The blizzard had been raging for 2 days when Julian finally came home. It was well past midnight, and the sterile silence of the Chicago penthouse was shattered by the heavy oak door swinging open, admitting a blast of frigid air. Leo had just administered his nightly hormone injection. The sharp sting in his arm a familiar, unwelcome punctuation to his evening. Light flooded the hallway as Julian, a formidable silhouette draped in a snow-dusted overcoat, strode in. His hand, cold as ice, clamped around Leo's wrist. Without a word, Julian dragged him down the hall and into the master bathroom, the force of his momentum pressing Leo's back against the freezing marble wall. He demanded an explanation. The cold seeped through Leo's thin shirt, making him shiver uncontrollably. He tried to push himself away, but Julian's grip was like iron, pinning him in place. Julian's voice was a low growl, thick with an accusatory rage that seemed to suck the warmth from the room. His dark eyes, filled with a cutting derision, dropped to Leo's still flat abdomen. He questioned what exactly Leo thought needed explaining. He pointed out that while he was stuck on business in New York, Leo had been in a desperate hurry to get pregnant with some other man's child just to fulfill their arrangement. The bathroom's recessed lighting cast long, harsh shadows, illuminating the first real confrontation they had had in 5 years of cold, distant marriage. And it was all over the tiny, nascent life inside him. Leo's gaze drifted to the unmelted snowflakes clinging to Julian's shoulders. The irony was a bitter taste in his mouth. He realized Julian hadn't braved a dangerous storm out of concern for their unborn child, but to serve an indictment. The absurdity of it all was so profound it almost made him laugh. He struggled to find his voice, asking Julian if he truly believed he had been unfaithful. Julian scoffed, his tone dripping with contempt. He found it quite a coincidence that after 5 childless years, Leo managed to conceive the moment he left town. He spoke of his admiration for Leo's dedication to have convincingly played the role of a desperate would-be parent for half a decade. He speculated whether the constant trips to the fertility clinic were genuine attempts to improve his health or merely a long-form setup for this very moment, to make this particular pregnancy seem plausible. Each word was a carefully crafted barb, designed to wound. The oppressive weight of Julian's anger felt physical, a pressure that sent a numb, tingling sensation down Leo's spine. With the last ounce of clarity he could muster, he tried to reason with him. He explained that the pregnancy was at 8 weeks, and they had been together just before Julian had left. He insisted that if the child wasn't Julian's, he couldn't imagine whose it could be. He offered to get an amniocentesis in a few months to prove it, questioning why Julian was so quick to condemn him now. His defense was met with a humorless laugh. Julian's fingers pressed cruelly against his stomach. If it was his child, then he invited Leo to explain how, precisely, he had managed to conceive it, given the vasectomy Julian had undergone 5 years prior. A stark white document, a surgical report, was suddenly held inches from Leo's face. The words blurred as his world tilted on its axis. He was frozen, his breath catching in his throat. 10 years ago, when Julian's family had lost everything, Leo had ended their first relationship and the pregnancy that came with it. Then Julian, having rebuilt his empire, had sought him out and married him, claiming Leo owed him a child. For 5 years, Leo had chased that debt. He had visited every specialist, swallowed every pill, and endured countless hormone injections that left him aching and sleepless. He had borne the quiet, judging whispers from Julian's family, believing the fault was his alone, a penance for his past decision. He had promised himself that once the debt was paid, he would leave. Their intimacy had become a clinical, calculated affair. He would track his ovulation cycles, careful not to conflict with Julian's demanding work schedule. The passionate boy he had once known was gone, replaced by a cold, ascetic man who had little interest in their bed. Leo had tried everything to reignite a spark, but Julian's detached gaze as he looked him over always left him feeling hollowed out and ashamed. The thought that Julian might be the issue had crossed his mind. In their 3rd year of marriage, he had discreetly asked Julian's assistant for his old medical records. The next day, at the breakfast table, Julian had thrown 2 new reports in front of him. His own was flawless. Leo's, however, detailed in stark black ink how his uterine lining was too thin for an embryo to successfully implant, a known side effect of the surgical abortion he'd had years ago. Julian's cold stare had made him feel like a fool. A man who had secretly undergone such a procedure had no right to question him. But now, this revelation. Julian had been sterilized all along. The 5 years of mockery, of physical and emotional torment. What was it all for? Leo's hand trembled so violently he could barely see. His fingers clenched the report, the paper crinkling into a tight ball. He threw it at Julian's face and screamed at him for the first time in their marriage, demanding to know if he found this cruel game amusing. If silence and tears earned him no respect, perhaps rage could, at least for a moment. He asked if Julian had enjoyed watching him, like some madman, chasing a ghost. Julian's voice cut through his tirade, sharp and severe. He stated he had told Leo from the beginning that his family didn't need an heir. It was Leo who had insisted. Leo's own words caught in a sob. He reminded Julian that he had agreed. He had agreed that a child would clear the slate between them. Julian watched the tears stream down Leo's face, his own expression unreadable. After a long silence, the rigid anger seemed to drain from his features, replaced by a brittle calm. He acknowledged the lie was his. But before he could release Leo from their pact, he needed an explanation of his own. He wanted to know about the charity gala 2 months ago, why Leo had disappeared for 4 hours, why he had lied about it using his fertile period as an excuse, and why, by some strange coincidence, the reckless youngest son of the Vanderbilt family, a man Leo had briefly worked for after their first breakup, had also left the event early. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows. Leo finally gave Julian his answer, stating that nothing had happened between them. The weak denial was immediately countered with a piece of evidence Julian had been holding in reserve. A security video still, showing Leo stumbling out of a hotel room in the middle of the night. Julian asked what he had to say for himself now. Leo's fingers turned white as he squeezed them together. His voice was flat, devoid of emotion. He admitted that the man had sought him out, hoping to use Leo as leverage to secure a business deal with Julian. He had refused. Julian pressed him, his eyes narrowing with suspicion, wanting to know what happened next. Leo explained that the man had harassed him for hours, then offered a different kind of deal. He had asked if Leo desperately wanted a child, because he could help him with that. Julian's sneer widened. He asked what Leo had done. Leo met his gaze and stated simply that he had run. He held Julian's stare, but his eyes were clouded, concealing everything but the raw redness of his rims. He touched his stomach, his voice raspy. He told Julian that the vasectomy was his business, but he had never been with another man. The child could only be his. If Julian would believe him, he would carry it to term. Julian's refusal was instant and absolute. The only child of his that mattered, he said, was the one Leo had destroyed 10 years ago. Some chances, he reminded him cruelly, you only get once. The mention of their shared, buried history made the blood drain from Leo's face. Julian watched his reaction, a flicker of grim satisfaction in his eyes. He then informed Leo that he had already scheduled a D&C for him. It was for the following morning. The heat in the apartment felt oppressive, yet a deep, penetrating cold spread from Leo's chest to his limbs. Julian had booked the termination on the plane ride back. This interrogation wasn't a search for truth. It was a formality, a game of cat and mouse designed to corner him, to watch him squirm, to satisfy a decade of simmering hatred. Leo's hand fell from his stomach. A small, broken laugh escaped his lips. He agreed. Some chances you only get once. And this second chance that fate had given them? He no longer wanted it. The silence was broken by an urgent knock at the bedroom door. A young woman's worried voice filtered through. Seeing Julian didn't answer, she entered, her eyes landing on the tense scene. She was beautiful, dressed in a sleek business suit, with Julian's heavy black coat draped over her shoulders. The name tag on her blazer read Chloe. In turn, she stood her ground, her gaze serious, explaining that she was worried something had happened. She looked at Leo, her expression a careful blend of concern and judgment. She remarked that after such a long and stressful journey, Julian hadn't even had a chance to rest. She then added, as if sharing a piece of wisdom, that a person raised with a gentle education should never raise their voice to their partner. Leo looked down at her, a bitter smile twisting his lips. He was well aware of his humble origins. His anger was easily dismissed as hysterics. But to be lectured by this woman, who spoke with the authority of a man like Julian, was nauseating. He covered his mouth, gagging slightly. Julian instinctively reached for him, but Leo shoved his hand away. Chloe stepped forward, smoothly taking control. She informed Julian that the car downstairs was warm and that she had already arranged for the housekeeper at his apartment to prepare a meal. Julian rarely stayed here. His downtown apartment, closer to the office, was more his home. He said nothing, his gaze still fixed on Leo, as if waiting for a protest, a plea. But Leo felt only a profound weariness. He told him not to wait, or the worsening snow would make the roads impassable. After what felt like an eternity, Julian turned and walked out. Just before the door clicked shut, Chloe glanced back at Leo, a sly, triumphant smile on her face. She wished him well, advising him to take care of his health and not get upset. Her eyes flickered down to his abdomen. Otherwise, she added sweetly, a baby that was so hard to conceive might easily be lost. Leo wasn't angry. He felt strangely calm as he drew a bath. In the bathroom, he found a single dark hair of Julian's on the floor. He carefully picked it up and sealed it in a small Ziploc bag. If affection wasn't a weapon, then proof would have to be. After all, Julian was a man who valued evidence above all else. He slept fitfully, dreaming of the past. The clinic, the bleeding, the doctor's grim face. Julian had been the last to know. He'd driven for hours through a snowstorm to reach him, only to find him 2 weeks later on a cold city street. His voice had been hollow when he asked where the baby was. Leo had told him he'd gotten rid of it. At the time, Julian's family was on the brink of bankruptcy. He was a young man drowning in his father's mistakes. And Leo had chosen that moment to be pragmatic. He had erased Julian's mark, forced a breakup, and accepted money from Julian's mother to disappear. He had played the part of the heartless gold digger, confirming Julian's worst fears. Julian had begged for a reason, asked if he had any excuse, any hardship that had forced his hand. Standing in the freezing wind, Leo had looked him in the eye and said no. That was the last time they saw each other until Julian, powerful and unforgiving, found him again. He woke to the pale light of dawn, his face cold with dried tears. His phone buzzed. It was his doctor, confirming his appointment for the amniocentesis. He told her he was on his way. He grabbed his keys and left. Julian had texted him the address of the clinic for the termination. He would go, but first he would get his own proof. He thought of the black coat on Chloe's shoulders and tightened his grip on the steering wheel. The unfaithful one in this marriage had never been him. At the clinic, Dr. Evans, who had overseen his fertility treatments for years, advised against an amnio at 8 weeks. A non-invasive blood test would be safer. As she spoke, Leo found himself staring at a family photo on her desk. He managed a weak smile, saying nothing. She gently asked why he needed a paternity test so urgently, guessing that his husband suspected the child wasn't his. Leo corrected her. It was more than suspicion. Dr. Evans looked at him with sympathy, telling him that he had never owed Julian anything. The simple validation made Leo's carefully constructed composure crumble. It felt as if for his entire life, he had been told he was in someone's debt. To his family, to Julian, to society. He thanked her, his voice thick with emotion. Before he left, she gave him one last. Terminating another pregnancy would likely cause irreversible damage. Natural conception, even natural cycles, might become impossible. Leo just smiled. That would save him the trouble of having another mark removed. After the blood draw, he drove toward the address Julian had sent. The sun was rising, casting a warm glow over the snow-covered city. For the first time in years, the knot of tension in his chest began to loosen. Once this last task was done, he would be free. By noon, Julian had heard nothing. He sat in the dark of his apartment, watching the young woman in front of him cry. He had tried to be with her, to lose himself in another body, but at the last moment, he had pushed her away, his mind filled only with Leo. He was the wronged party, he told himself. He had no reason to feel this torment. Leo was the one who had broken their vows. Chloe, sensing an opportunity in his fractured state, wrapped her arms around him. She whispered that she pitied him, that she would give him a child that was truly his. The words seemed to strike a nerve. A dark, chilling smile spread across Julian's face. He leaned down, his eyes glinting with a strange, obsessive light. He agreed. He would have a child that was his. He was on his way out when his mother called, complaining about Leo's recent behavior. Julian's mind was a storm of conflicting emotions. The phone rang again. It was a private number. A woman's voice informed him that a paternity report was ready for him to pick up. A report ordered a week ago by Leo Vance. Julian froze. The calendar in their bedroom, filled with Leo's frantic red circles marking his fertile days, flashed in his mind. He drove recklessly, the slick roads causing his car to spin out and collide with a guardrail. Shaken but undeterred, he made his way to the clinic on foot, his body bruised and aching. He demanded the report. Dr. Evans handed it over, her expression unreadable. Julian's eyes scanned the page. His breath hitched. The words stated a 99.9% probability that he was the father. His hand began to shake violently. It was impossible. He hadn't given a DNA sample. It had to be a trick, another of Leo's manipulations designed to make him feel regret. He crumpled the report, a furious rejection of a truth his mind couldn't accept, and threw it in the trash. He would wait for his own test, the one he controlled. The days crawled by. Finally, his friend from the hospital, Dr. Cole, called him in. He handed Julian the second report. It was identical to the first. Julian stared at him, his voice cracking as he repeated the fact that he'd had a vasectomy. Dr. Cole patiently explained the concept of spontaneous recanalization. Over years, it was possible for the severed tubes to reconnect, creating a narrow passage. The rest of his words were a dull roar in Julian's ears. The scientific explanation crumbled his last defense. A wave of panic, cold and immense, washed over him. He stumbled out of the office, the sterile smell of the hospital choking him. It wasn't a stranger's child he had forced Leo to destroy. It was his own. He pulled out his phone, his fingers trembling as he dialed Leo's number. The call went straight to a disconnected line. He tried again and again, a desperate, frantic repetition. He needed to hear Leo say it was a lie, that he had cheated, that the baby wasn't his. The fear solidified into tears, hot and shameful, streaming down his face. Chloe found him outside, a wreck of a man. She tried to comfort him with the words she thought he wanted to hear. That the child wasn't his, that she would give him a new one. He turned on her, his eyes wild with grief, and roared that it was his. It was his and Leo's child. Her face went pale with shock. She stammered that the child was already gone. The words hit him with the force of a physical blow. A sharp, delayed pain pierced his heart. He had arranged it. He had signed the order. He had killed his own child. His mother called again, and in a fit of rage, he demanded to know what business from the past she was always alluding to. And so the full story came out. The money, the pressure, the forced choice she had given a terrified young man all those years ago. Leo's betrayal had been a sacrifice. Julian's carefully constructed narrative of his own victimhood shattered into a million pieces. He started searching. He went to Leo's desolate hometown and found only an old woman clutching a worn silver bracelet. He called friends, former colleagues. No one had heard from Leo. He had simply vanished. It was then that Julian realized he hadn't just lost Leo now. He had lost him 5 years ago, when he had chosen revenge over love. He had thought that by preventing a pregnancy, he could keep Leo tethered to him forever. He never imagined that a heart, no matter how resilient, could eventually be broken beyond repair. 3 years later, he found him in Montreal. Leo was thinner, quieter, but a fragile peace had settled over him. Julian tried to bring him back with pleas and promises, locking him in a rented house, crying and apologizing. He told him he'd had the vasectomy reversed, that they could start again. Leo just looked out at the green summer lawn and reminded him, his voice flat, that his body was ruined. There would be no more children. On Leo's 35th birthday, Julian flew in with a cake. In the flickering candlelight, for a fleeting second, he looked like the 18-year-old boy Leo had fallen in love with, the boy who had been his courage. Julian promised him any wish he wanted. After the candles were blown out, in the quiet darkness, Leo made his wish. His voice was soft, devoid of heat or resentment. He asked Julian, for the next few decades, to never see him again. The words struck Julian with a physical force, and a hot tear finally escaped, tracing a path down his cheek. He had never imagined that Leo's greatest wish would be to be free of him, forever. On their last day together, they walked through a park. A young student, no older than 18, watched them with open curiosity. She asked Julian if they were together because they were a perfect match, or because they were in love. He managed a brittle smile, his voice rough with a decade of unshed grief. It was love, he said. Just a love that had become twisted and diseased over time. The girl, her face full of youthful innocence, asked the inevitable question. So you're married? You must be so happy. In the warm summer breeze, under the shade of a maple tree, Julian looked at the young girl's hopeful face. He tried to smile again, a movement that felt alien and painful. Married, yes. He paused, the tears he had held back for so long finally welling in his eyes. But not happy at all.